In November 1950, a division of U.S. Marines was trapped in Korea during the Korean War. They were stranded. Their vehicles had holes in the fuel lines, and they were critically low on 60mm mortar rounds. Desperate, they radioed for an emergency resupply using the official military code name for the ammunition, Tootsie Rolls. When the supply drop arrived, they tore open the crates and found candy! Hundreds of actual, individually wrapped Tootsie Rolls. What could have been a fatal mistake turned out to be a blessing in disguise. The candies provided much-needed nourishment for the soldiers. But more importantly, the Marines discovered that if they heated the chewy taffy, it became pliable enough to patch the holes in their vehicles' fuel lines. That simple candy allowed them to evacuate to safety. This is the story of Tootsie Roll, a classic American candy that has remained almost unchanged for over a century. It's a company that has been paying dividends to its stockholders for 82 consecutive years, has remained independent despite constant takeover rumors, and is still controlled by the same family that took it over during the Great Depression. It is an iconic brand with an unusual story. To understand its success, we have to go back to its inventor, Leo Hersshfield, who has a mysterious and ultimately tragic story. Leo immigrated from Austria to the United States in the late 1800s. He was following in his father's footsteps by becoming a candy maker. To get by, he made candy and sold it to local children in Brooklyn. Eventually, he got a job on the assembly line at a local candy company called Stern and Sahlberg. This is where the official history gets a little fuzzy. There are conflicting versions about when and where he created the Tootsie Roll. The version promoted by the company says Leo first sold them at his own New York City candy stand before merging with a larger company. However, there's evidence suggesting he was already working at Stern and Sahlberg when he invented the first Tootsie Rolls in the early 1900s. One piece of evidence supporting this is that he never filed for a patent for his invention until 1907. Before the Tootsie Roll, Leo actually invented a popular gelatin dessert called bromangelon. Its mascot was a girl named Tattling Tootsie, who was based on his own daughter Clara. Leo then figured out a new technique to pull this gelatin dessert into a tasty taffy candy. What made his process special was a low-temperature baking phase that he added between the pulling and shaping steps. This made the taffy lighter, more porous, and gave it that unique, chewy texture. Stern and Sahlberg loved it and sold it under the familiar name Tootsie Rolls. The candy was revolutionary for its time. This was an era before widespread air conditioning and refrigerators. Most candy sellers didn't even bother selling chocolate during the hot summer months because it would melt and be ruined. Tootsie Rolls were a chocolate-flavored alternative that did not melt. It was also the first candy to be individually hand-wrapped with paper, and each piece only cost a penny. The Tootsie Roll quickly became the company's new hit product, and Leo rose through the ranks to become vice president. The company was renamed the Sweets Company of America in 1917 and went public in 1919. But Leo wouldn't share in its long-term success. He left to strike out on his own, forming a new company called Mel's Candy. But his new venture was immediately hit with tragedy. According to a New York Times article from the time, Leo's wife had been committed to a sanitarium after a mental breakdown. At the same time, Leo was battling a severe stomach disease that caused him intense pain. On January 13, 1922, Leo took his own life. His invention has continued to live on, but its inventor met a tragic end. The company was at its weakest point during the Great Depression in the 1930s. Despite introducing the now famous Tootsie Pop in 1931, the company was struggling to keep things running. That struggle allowed a man named William Rubin to take control. Rubin wasn't a candy maker. He was a supplier who ran the company that made the wrappers and boxes for Tootsie Rolls. He bought up enough stock to take over the company, and his family has remained in control ever since. In 1962, leadership passed to Melvin Gordon, who had married into the family. He and his wife, Ellen Rubin Gordon, essentially started running the company together. And these two are almost single-handedly responsible for shaping Tootsie Roll Industries into the powerhouse it is today. Melvin and Ellen ran the company for a ridiculously long period of time. Melvin Gordon served as CEO until he passed away in 2015 at 95 years old. He was, amazingly, one of the oldest active CEOs of an American company at the time. Upon his death, his 83-year-old wife Ellen took over his position, and as of today, She is still the one in control. This kind of consistent leadership is almost unheard of in any public company. The Gordons' entire business philosophy was built on a slow, steady, and conservative approach. They almost always avoided risks. One of their corporate principles, which they included in their annual reports, states, "We do not jeopardize long-term growth for immediate short-term results." As part of this, the company has maintained an abnormally low level of long-term debt. They also reinvested heavily in technology to maintain efficiency. A lot of these decisions were actually against the wishes of shareholders. But the family issued a second class of voting shares in the 1980s, mostly to themselves, which has allowed them to operate much more like a private company. The Gordon strategy had two main pillars. First was vertical integration. They wanted to control as much of their production process as possible to keep costs low. In 1985, Melvin Gordon said, "We try to be vertical wherever we can. We have our own sugar refinery. We have our own printing press. We even make the sticks for the Tootsie Roll Pops." They even rebuild their own manufacturing equipment in-house. The second pillar was horizontal acquisitions. Since the Tootsie Roll is such a unique product, the company grew by buying other smaller, well-known candy brands that complemented its existing lines. In 1972, they took control of Dots and Crows. In 1985, they bought the company that makes Sella's chocolate-covered cherries. In 1988, they made a huge move and bought Charms, the maker of the Blow Pop. This one got a lot of attention because it joined the country's top 2 lollipop makers, making Tootsie Roll the undisputed leader of that market. The shopping spree continued. In 1993, they acquired Junior Mints, Sugar Daddy, Sugar Babies, and Charleston Chew. In 2000, they bought Andes Candies, the famous chocolate mints. And in 2004, they made their biggest acquisition ever, buying Concord Confections for $217 million. That deal gave them Double Bubble, which is considered the original bubblegum from the 1920s. To this day, Tootsie Roll Industries has reportedly never sold a major brand it has acquired. Of course, you can't build an empire without great marketing. In the 1940s, Tootsie Rolls were being promoted by celebrities like Frank Sinatra. He was reportedly such a fan of the candy that he was buried with a bag of Tootsie Rolls. Around 1950, the company started airing its first ads on television, back when the medium was just becoming popular. They have said they believe they were the first candy company to advertise on television on a regular basis, targeting children's programs. But in 1970, they aired what has to be one of the most recognizable commercials of all time. A kid goes around asking Mr. Cow, Mr. Fox, and Mr. Turtle how many licks it takes to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. They all end up biting it, so he asks the wise Mr. Owl, who also ends up biting it. The commercial was a phenomenon. The company claims it has received over 20,000 letters from children over the years trying to answer that question. From a revolutionary non-melting candy and a literal wartime lifesaver to a massive portfolio of iconic brands, Tootsie Roll Industries has become a part of Americana. It has remained independent and profitable by sticking to a conservative, long-term vision. Today, the company generates over $700 million in sales each year from brands that are known by almost everyone. So I'm curious, what's your favorite candy from the Tootsie Roll family? Is it the original, a Tootsie Pop, or one of their many acquisitions like Junior Mints, Dots, or Double Bubble? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.